Yo, what's going on YouTube? So today I'm back with another very special video, and I'm gonna be breaking down to y'all how back in 2021 I was able to make $37,000 flipping my very first house using none of my own money. So if y'all want to know more, stay tuned, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get straight into it. The first thing I had to do was I had to go and learn about how I was going to invest in real estate. And what I did was I started learning about tax lien properties, right? And so I started first by wholesaling properties, pulling lists on websites like Prop Machine, PropStream, Deal Machine, and batch leads, right? And so the whole time while I was sourcing these leads, I was doing research on what it was going to be required of me in order to flip these properties. And then I started realizing that I was going to need a large amount of cash. Now, since I did not have a large amount of cash at the time, I had to get creative, right? And so I had to wait, right? Build my way up, hustle, save up enough money. And then instead of taking my first amount of money or a decent amount of money that I had and investing all that in real estate, I leveraged that money and then went and deposited that money into a credit union. So that way I could start showing the credit union consistent deposits. And then I can go and apply for a line of credit or a credit card in this case, which is what I applied for. And in my first credit card, I was approved for $30,000. So now I had not only the credit card for $30,000, but I had cash as well that I had saved up, which was about $20,000 just for investment purposes, right? That wasn't like all of the money, but this was the money that I had set aside to invest with that I was already using to put into this bank account. So now I'm at 50,000. Right? And this is what I had to start with, combining those two sources of, funding. So I went ahead and I started looking for these properties, right? By pulling lists. I was cold calling. I was also driving for dollars. I was doing everything, every lead source possible in order to find my first deal. And after about a year of trying, right, through wholesaling, because I didn't really feel that any of the wholesale deals were right, or maybe at the time I just wasn't too confident in them, but I didn't think the numbers were kind of there for the spread of the amount of money that I wanted to make. But I ended up purchasing my first property from my county's tax delinquent auction. And this first property that I purchased was for $16,000, and the property needed light rehab. I didn't really do anything crazy my first time around. I literally painted the cabinets, I reglazed the bathroom tub and the surround, just kind of recaulked everything, sanded down the wood floors, and just kind of, just really gave the property some lipstick because it wasn't that bad, right? And so with that, I went ahead and did a lot of this work myself, so I was able to save some money, right? Because I was already handy. I started by doing like woodworking and building things in my garage just to kind of like make money. So I was hustling that way by kind of like selling furniture and tables and couches and all different kind of things, right? But I was saving my money and I was also building a skill. And so when it came time to purchase my first property and start doing this work, I already had a lot of the tools and drills and, just different things, wrenches and just anything that you could think of to work on a home. And I also wasn't afraid to get my hands dirty, right? So when it came to just kind of different things like demolition, throwing things away or getting like a truck, I had already purchased a truck, my furniture flipping business. So a lot of these things I was able to save money by having, making my own runs to Home Depot at the time, right? This doesn't make sense for my business now, but at the time when I was trying to get started, get that first nice lump sum of money and that proof of concept, this is what was necessary, right? And so this might be necessary for you as well. I'm not saying always start working on your own properties or, feel like you need to be the one to do that. And you may not want to do that the first time around. That's fine. But I know this is what worked for me, right? And so after purchasing this property for about $16,000, I went ahead and I put, based on my own just labor and then whatever I was paying people, because I was also paying help as well, right, to do some of the things that I didn't have as much experience with. Between labor and material, I spent an additional 16, I think it was 16 or 19,000. So that was 32 to 35,000. I believe I was all into this property. And then I went ahead and I found a realtor who I still work with to this day to sell this property for me. And so after marketing this property for a short time, We went ahead and found a buyer for this property. Funny story, the first realtor that I found actually was telling me that we should have listed this property lower, and I pretty much would have like broke even if I would have sold this property and went with that first realtor. But this second realtor that I found ended up telling me that we should list this property for about $70,000. Well, I'm sorry, $69,900 is what we listed this property for. And so the property sold for about $68,000 or $67,000 because it didn't appraise for the $69,000. So it only could sell for what it appraised for because we were selling to an FHA buyer. So with that, I was able to go ahead and make about $32,000 on this property. $32,000 flipping this property, right? The 67 minus 32 or 35 would be 35 to 32,000. That was the profit that I was able to make after buying this property, paying for material, paying for labor for different things, right? Like my electrician, my plumber, just different painters and things like that would come in and give me a hand and help me get the project to completion. And I was able to go ahead and take that profit from this property, reinvest it into my next property, and it's kept me going still to this day. That was pretty much the project, man. I mean, it was a great experience. Yes, it was a headache. Yes, I think at the time it felt like it took too long, but I think all in all, it probably took like 5 months. You know what I'm saying? And for that $30,000 in 5 months, I mean, to me, it felt like I had made $100,000 because I had never made that much money before or seen that much money at one point in time, right? Like that entire thing, once it got deposited into my bank account at the time, it felt like I was on top of the world because I started from literally like not having any money, right? Working my way up to making money, building my credit up, utilizing other people's money. And then as soon as I got paid, I just went straight to pay the credit card back. And it felt like, wow, like I could continue to do this time and time again. And this was probably the best experience that I could have had, because going into my next few properties, I did the same thing, right? I would purchase them. I would have some cash invested. I will use some OPM, right, which is other people's money, which will help speed up the process. Because I know oftentimes when we invest our own money, life comes up, things happen. You don't always want to just continue to, put out your own cash because there's always risk involved. But if you have someone else's money, and what I advise is 0% interest, it makes it that much easier, because now you have that much extra capital to deploy toward material, toward labor, toward things that come up that you don't expect, right? Oftentimes, if you buy something with your money, you're not expecting things to go wrong. You're kind of just hoping that everything goes right, so that way you can spend your money the way you planned on it. And then something comes up and it makes everything kind of just blow up, right? Or it makes the situation that much harder, because now you have to try to figure out, how do I go and get the extra money to get this done? As opposed to if you do it the way I'm instructing you guys, and you have that extra money, or you have that money set aside specifically for that project, and then you use your money in case of an emergency, right? Or to just continue to stay afloat while you're doing this project, if this is your only source of income. And so that's my advice, guys, to how I would do it if I was starting today. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want more like this, again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, drop a comments in the video. If you felt there was something I missed, or if you felt there was something you wanted to know more about and you want me to break down a little bit more. But if not, I'll see y'all on the next one.